Welcome to our third video, where we explore the features of TwineCompile and how they can help and maximize your developer productivity in C++ Builder. Today we're going to be looking at a not so well-known feature of TwineCompile called spontaneous real-time automatic compiling, which is basically a fancy way of saying TwineCompile always makes sure that at all times your project is already compiled. Basically, that means as you make changes to your project, TwineCompile intelligently, behind the scenes, compiles the files as you make changes to them, which means that when it comes time to test your code, to run your project, to execute your application, everything is already compiled, and there's nothing that needs to happen except link everything together and run the application. Let's take a look at how this works in practice. Let's go back to our large project, which we were looking at in the previous two videos. Here we have it open, we have 2 units open, we have some code, and this time I have enabled SORTA Out of the box, SORTA is actually enabled. We had it disabled on the previous 2 videos to allow us to focus on those features being called out. Now SORTA is turned on. What's going to happen? Let's go and make a change to one of our units. For example, I'm going to change this code right here. Now, if I save my code file, you'll notice I just hit save, which was Control-S, and the compile window now suddenly shows this SORTA compile completed successfully. And basically what happened is TwineCompile picks up on the fact that I just saved this file and automatically executes a compile of that changed file. So now if I were to hit run or make, all TwineCompile is going to do is link, because the file has already been built behind the scenes. It didn't interfere with anything I was doing, it just automatically took care of it behind the scenes. Alternatively, if I make a change to the code file, and then I flip over to another tab, you'll see that once again SORTA kicks off and compiles the unit behind the scenes. It sees, oh, I've lost the focus on that other file, I'm now looking at another file, therefore that file can be compiled behind the scenes with its latest changes. If nothing happens for 15 seconds after a code modification, let's go and make such a modification, and now we wait a bit of time, and out of the box this is set to 15 seconds, this can be tweaked. So you make a code change, and then you get up and you want to grab a cup of coffee. Well, you go to your coffee machine, you grab the cup of coffee, whatever's happening, you're talking to your coworkers. Well, when you come back to your desk, what's actually going to happen is the file will have already been compiled. I have done nothing, but the timer kicked in and automatically compiled the file. This is very useful because it means at all times your file is compiled and ready to go. One important feature that SORTA has is the fact that it can isolate the messages it encounters, the errors and warnings, when compiling these files behind the scenes, so that they do not interfere with any compile messages that you may be working through in your code. For example, if I change this code to emit a warning, so let's go back to the code that emitted a warning. I'm going to save the changes. It's going to SORTA compile, and it's going to tell me warnings 1. It's not going to show that warning in my compile messages window, because I could be looking at other messages there, I could have other things I'm focusing on, and it's a behind the scenes compile, so it shouldn't interfere with my regular code work. Instead, the warning has been isolated into a separate window called the SORTA message pane. But bring that up. It's an identical window to the compile messages window, but is dedicated to showing the messages specifically for SORTA compile. Obviously, this is a dockable window. I can take it and I can drop it into the same area that I have my other tabs, and then I can flip between regular compile messages or the SORTA compile messages. And of course, if I were to see that, I can make immediate changes to my code without having to wait for it to make or build to see those errors and warnings, and I can just fix them in real time. So I go see the warning came up, I change the code, I save the file, SORTA compile automatically goes behind the scenes, compiles the file. I don't have to do anything. When it comes time to make the project, all that's going to happen is it's going to go straight into a link. Think of that. 0 time to compile. There are no files being compiled. This means that 99% of the time, you will never be compiling another C++ unit because they will have already been compiled behind the scenes. This is what we call zero file compiles. And it's one of the most awesome features that TwineCompile provides and is a huge boost to developer productivity.